Hello again, it's Jameson Palmer, and in this short video, we're gonna dig into the UFUN Utoken digital currency model. I believe personally that this is the digital currency model of the future. I believe that UFUN is on the forefront, pioneering a new concept for the digital currency world, and there's so much misunderstanding about the model itself and what UFUN is up to with this digital currency. And so we're going to dig into it a little bit here, and you're going to understand why we're so excited about this particular digital currency and why this model makes so much sense. Now, I want you to understand that before coming across the Utoken, I have been heavily involved in digital currency myself. I've been following it very carefully over the years. So many of the financial experts believe that this is one of the greatest innovations for the financial industry of our time. There is a huge amount of money being put into digital currency technology right now, and we are essentially the pioneers of this industry. We're at the embryo stage, and it's a tremendous opportunity for those of us that are involved early. And that's why this has become one of our primary focuses moving forward so that we can capitalize on this. And part of the reason I'm so excited about the Utoken currency is what we're going to dig into in this video. So first of all, what is digital currency? Well, this is something that is in the infancy stage. So we're really pioneering the digital currency industry. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my perspective on what digital currency is, at least what it should be, because I believe this is where digital currency is headed on into the future. So from my perspective, digital currency is simply a store of value. So in other words, each individual digital currency unit, whether it's a Bitcoin, whether it's a Litecoin, whether it's a Utoken, each digital currency unit should represent something of value. And so that's one of the biggest problems with most digital currencies. The value is based upon supply and demand, and the digital currency itself doesn't represent anything with real value. And that's why there are so many financial experts saying that until there's a digital currency that's backed by something, backed by gold, backed by precious metals, backed by something of real value, that we don't really have a currency. So we believe that in the future, the value of a digital currency will not simply be based upon supply and demand, but the value of the currency will be based upon what that digital currency represents. So the value of whatever it is that's backing that digital currency. So looking at this illustration here, if you understand the history of the US dollar, essentially back in the day, each US dollar represented a specific amount of gold. So the original banks, they were holding on to gold. Obviously gold's heavy. People can't carry around a bunch of gold with them. And so they were given a receipt, which essentially was the dollar that represented the gold that was being held by the bank. So in other words, the original dollar was a receipt, and it represented a specific amount of gold that was being held. And so that was the store of value. The receipt represented the gold. It makes sense, right? And so understand, the receipt would have been meaningless if it didn't represent the gold. And that's one of the problems that we see in the digital currency industry is we have these digital coins that are kind of like the receipts, but they don't represent anything with a value. And so that's where we see things headed in the future is the digital currency will simply be a representation. It'll be like a receipt of something of real value. And that's one of the things that's so exciting about the Utoken. UFUN has really been a pioneer by developing a digital currency as it should be a representation of real value. Now, the reason this is so important, and to really drive this point home, I want to make this real simple. Let's say we have 4 digital coins. And those digital coins have been issued to represent a specific amount of gold. Now we have a digital currency that's backed by gold. Now that digital currency actually represents something of value. And this is where the reserve comes into play. This is why this concept is so important, because the reserve is something of value. And then the digital currency simply represents a portion of whatever that is. And so it's whatever's in the reserve that's actually giving the value to the digital currency. And I believe this is part of the future of digital currency, because essentially you could have anything of value and you could use a digital currency to represent a portion of that reserve. And it could be gold, it could be precious metals, it could be anything of value. And again, the digital currency units could represent a specific portion of whatever that is. So again, think about it like this. In the past, there was a demand for US dollars because the US dollar represented a specific amount of gold. And so it was the gold that gave the US dollar value. What we see as the future is digital currencies where the value is based upon whatever it is that's backing that digital currency. And whatever it is that's backing that digital currency, that's what's known as the reserve. And that's where we see UFUN on the forefront as the pioneers of this concept, because the reserve system that's backing the Utoken is even more valuable than gold, more valuable than precious metals. And there's no doubt we're going to see more digital currencies adopting this type of model as we move into the future. And so let's dig into the Utoken model a little bit here. Like I said, UFUN has really been the innovator when it comes to the new reserve model. The first digital currency with a real reserve system. And so we have the Utoken Reserve, which gives value to each digital currency unit, which is known as the Utoken. Now, the Utoken Reserve is very unique. And from our perspective, it's even better than being backed by gold, being backed by precious metals, because the Utoken Reserve is actually backed by money generating assets. And so again, rather than being backed by gold, which the value goes up and down, the value fluctuates, now what we're talking about is a reserve system. We're talking about a digital currency with a reserve system that's actually backed by money generating assets, profit generating assets. And so the reserve is constantly and consistently increasing in value. And so we've got the Marble Mining Project, which has an estimated value of tens of billions of dollars. We have the Gateway Clang Project, which is a massive mega mall office complex structure with hotels and commercial office space, which is a huge profit center in Asia. That's just an example. There are other multi-billion-dollar profit generating projects on the table. And so again, the beauty of this model is rather than being backed by gold, rather than being backed by some kind of precious metal, we have profit generating projects, these assets that are constantly increasing the value of the Utoken Reserve and therefore increasing the value of the Utoken. And I want you to think about it like this. So with the Utoken Reserve, when you own Utokens, your digital currency units, your Utokens, represent a portion of the Utoken Reserve. And again, you've got money generating assets that are increasing in value. And so when you're holding on to Utokens, your Utokens represent a portion of these money generating assets. Now, this is a breakthrough concept for digital currency. There is no other digital currency doing anything even close to what UFUN is doing at this level. And I want you to think about it like this. If you own Bitcoin, which I own a lot of Bitcoin, if you own Bitcoin, that Bitcoin doesn't represent anything. If you own Utoken, Again, your Utokens represent a portion of the Utoken Reserve. And that Utoken Reserve is backed by money generating assets. In a sense, it's like you are participating in multi-billion-dollar profit generating ventures. Now, I don't know about you, but do you want to own a digital currency that represents nothing, where the value is simply based off supply and demand? Or do you want to own a digital currency where it's backed by real reserve system, multi-billion dollar projects where the profits are increasing the value of that currency? Now, this concept is so powerful, so innovative, that if you've seen any of my other videos, then you know that I actually moved to Asia to spend some time getting to know the people behind the UFUN company, and so that I could verify this information for myself, because I knew that if this was true, it would be revolutionary for digital currency. And so we've got the Hand by You marble mining project. Again, the estimated value is tens of billions of dollars in profit. We've got the new Gateway Clang project. It's a massive mega mall with hotels, office space in a prime location in Malaysia. So another huge profit center for the reserve. And like I said, there are other multi-billion-dollar profit generating projects on the table. And when you own Utoken, it's kind of like you're participating in these projects, in these ventures. And so again, when you're going to own a digital currency, do you want to own a digital currency that represents nothing, or is backed by a real reserve system with many billions of dollars in assets? I mean, it's a stupid question, right? And I want you to think about this. When you get involved with digital currency, whatever digital currency you buy, essentially you're supporting that digital currency. Because the more people that use that currency, that means the more support that that currency has. And so it's us, the people, that drive a digital currency, that support a digital currency. And like I said, when I look at the industry, and I'm interested in digital currency in general, I see that most digital currencies are backed by nothing. I believe that the future of digital currency is having real reserve systems like the Utoken. And so when I see a company doing something innovative like this that makes so much sense, that's what makes me want to support this company. That's what makes me want to support this currency. So we've got UFUN that have been pioneers with the new reserve model. They're doing something innovative. I think they should be supported for that. I like what I see with them investing in multi-billion-dollar profit-generating projects. I don't see any other company out there doing anything like this. And so I think they should be praised for this innovation. And of course, there are the detractors, the naysayers. And the fact is, they're talking out of ignorance. They don't understand the model. It's like UFUN is saying the world's round, and all these people are still saying the world is flat. And so I want to give my public support to the leaders behind UFUN and the Utoken, to Dato Daniel Tay for being a visionary, helping to usher in the future for digital currency. I know he's taken a lot of heat from people that are unable to grasp the true brilliance behind this model. And I know that some of you may be asking, but Jameson, isn't this a network marketing company? Isn't UFUN an MLM type company? And it's definitely not. It's a company that's using a social compensation plan to get the word out about the Utoken. And we'll talk more about this in the next video. So definitely stay tuned for that. Jameson Palmer signing off. Many blessings and bye for now.